Imagine this. You are floating in the deepest void of space. No planets, no stars, nothing to give you a sense of place or time. An absolute silence, eternal and cold. An endless emptiness where nothing has shape or direction. But suddenly, something impossible happens. A particle appears, then another, and another. And out of nowhere, chaos begins to organize itself. From that eternal void, something emerges, a spark of order. And as if it were a dream, mountains form, oceans rise, cities appear, people exist, even memories, your entire life. Is this real? Or just an illusion in the middle of infinite chaos? This is the heart of one of the most unsettling ideas in physics, Boltzmann Paradox. Welcome to Universe, the place where the limits of time, space, and logic blur into mystery. Today, we dive into a question that doesn't just challenge physics, it forces us to question our very existence. A question so disturbing it might change the way you look at the night sky and the way you see the world around you. To understand this paradox, we travel back to the 19th century, when an Austrian physicist named Ludwig Boltzmann faced a monumental problem. If the laws of physics say that entropy, disorder, always increases, then how is it possible that we are here in an organized universe of planets, stars, life, and even consciousness itself? Because according to the second law of thermodynamics, everything tends towards chaos. Closed systems become more and more disordered over time, and yet here we are, surrounded by complex structures, perfectly shaped galaxies, and brains capable of asking why there is something instead of nothing. Boltzmann proposed something bold. What if the universe is not fundamentally ordered? What if, in truth, chaos is the rule, and what we call order is just a rare coincidence? Imagine an infinite ocean of chaos. Nothing makes sense. Nothing lasts. But if you wait long enough, if time is infinite, even the most unlikely events can happen. Like rolling a die millions of times, and by sheer chance, getting the same number over and over again. In that endless chaos, a tiny bubble of order could emerge. Our universe might be that bubble. But here comes the unsettling part. If chaos is the norm, then the simplest way to get an observer is not by creating an entire universe. Because creating a universe like ours requires an unimaginable chain of coincidences. Stable physics, atoms, stars, planets, evolution, and billions of years of history until finally, someone appears to observe it all. Wouldn't it be far more likely for a single observer to simply appear? An observer born already formed, with implanted memories of a life and a universe that never truly existed? Here we arrive at the concept of the Boltzmann brain, the consciousness that spontaneously arises in the middle of chaos, complete with false memories, false emotions, a false history, believing it lives in a structured universe, when in reality, it's just an improbable instant. Think about it. Statistically, it's far easier for a single floating mind with false memories to appear than to build an entire functioning universe over billions of years just to host it. So the inevitable question is, what if you are that Boltzmann brain? What if everything you think you've lived never really happened? What if your childhood memories, your friends, your work, this very moment, are nothing but an illusion? A story your mind invented the instant you appeared? The disturbing thing is that, from a purely mathematical perspective, it makes sense. In an infinite and eternal cosmos filled with chaos, the odds of Boltzmann brains appearing are far greater than the odds of entire universes like ours forming. But not everyone accepts this conclusion. Many modern physicists argue that Boltzmann's paradox tells us more about our mistaken assumptions than about reality itself. Maybe the universe isn't infinite. Maybe time has a clear beginning and an end. Maybe the laws of physics are not as absolute as we think. Still, you can't help but wonder, what if you're living inside one of those bubbles of order? What if the world you know is only a fleeting mirage that could vanish at any moment? This paradox doesn't just question our understanding of time and entropy. It shakes the very foundation of what it means to be real. It invites us to look beyond the obvious, to ask whether our certainties are nothing but fragile constructions floating in an endless sea of uncertainty. Imagine for a second that none of this existed. That this universe, with its galaxies and its physical laws, is nothing more than a brief flicker of coherence. If that were true, then everything we value, history, art, love, even this video, would be only a spark in the darkness. But what if that spark itself is what gives everything meaning? Maybe it doesn't matter if we are Boltzmann brains or inhabitants of a real universe. Maybe the only thing that matters is that we're here, feeling, wondering, exploring. Because as long as we exist, even for a single moment, the mystery remains alive. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the deepest questions of physics and philosophy. If you love enigmas that challenge the very logic of the universe, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Because next Thursday, we'll move from the abstract to the absolutely concrete, but no less mind-bending. What would happen if Earth stopped spinning for just 1 second? A scenario so brief, but one that could mean the end of everything we know. This was Universe, where the mystery begins just when you think you've got it all figured out.